We're joined by Andrew Marmont, author of Their Finest Hour, along with Rugby League Hall of Famer Garry Schofield, who's looking through the book to try and find where he is. Have you found yourself yet?
I'm here, I'm here.
Here it is.
Yeah, I'm here, yes, I'm here, yes. Good.
We all glorious World Cup winning honour.
Yeah, and I say the book itself, I say what Andrew's done, it's great memories from players who have been part of the World Cup from there, and he's given me a nice little title, Never Fear Anyone, and I think I've said quite a few times that it was a philosophy I got from my father at a very young age, where he said, listen, don't you worry about them, let them worry about you. And I guess it's a philosophy that I took on, and certainly for the World Cup when I was, again, later on, I faced Malmont England and juveniles at 18 years of age, and that wasn't a very nice experience, I can reassure you. But later on, as I got a little bit better in my career, it was a challenge what I took on quite well. But it's a great read, great memories from all the great players who have played in the World Cups. And
the 1992 final, obviously one of those games which is in the book. 10 matches which sum up the history of the World Cup.
That's right, and it'd actually be interesting, Gary, to get you going into that 92 World Cup final. What was sort of said beforehand, the belief about knocking them off, 20 odd years before. What did he say?
Yeah, well, we had the belief, but also as well the disappointment for us is that I had to be moved from stand-up to centre because Paul Newlove, he got injured, so unfortunately taken out because I'd made stand-off the position for my country from the Kiwi series in 1990, so it was a big blow for us because, no disrespect to Derek Fox or Sean Edwards, the creativity just wasn't there for ourselves. But yeah, we believed in ourselves that if we could hang in there for long times, then there was opportunity for us to win. But to be honest with you, we didn't create anything. It was a boring World Cup, and I do get a little bit of slating when I do say, John Devereux, boy oh boy, don't ever let a rugby league player get on the outside of you. And what did he do? Yeah. One of the best that's ever been in Steve Renouf. Showed Steve Renouf the outside. Yeah. Good night, God bless. He went in the corner. Big Mal kicked the goal, and they beat us 10-6. But was it a classic World Cup? No, it wasn't. We hung in there, but we just didn't create enough. And the Aussies, as we all know, they'll play for the full 80 minutes. They grinded out the win, and they beat us 10-6. But yeah, it was disappointment from a point of view where I didn't keep the number 6 jersey. Obviously, I started out as a centre from there, but it was a bit of a blow for ourselves. But we went into it as though that we believed we could win it there. But again, as we've seen from Great Britain for many years since the Kangaroos came over in 1982, so near, but yet so far.
And that's his age.
He never learns. This is a regular occurrence.
How old's that phone, Gary? Which is interesting. As you say, Richard. 10 matches. So we looked at all the World Cups and tried to narrow down 10. And one of the things. So I spoke to Wally Lewis just before, and he got a quote on the back of the book, and he said that it's really interesting for him to learn about new games, perhaps that he wasn't aware of, but also look back at his old memories. Like when you read through it, is that something that you kind of got, that you had there was a bit of nostalgia, but maybe there was a few games that you kind of thought, I wasn't aware that was, did it kind of give you that sort of insight?
Well, I think as well, what for a World Cup in any sport, whether it's in rugby league or rugby union or cricket or football, you want to be part of that, don't you? And I say Wally Lewis will give us great memories, and also other great players as well from that. And you never forget that. If anybody, certainly when you're playing, it's when you're starting out as a schoolboy. If you want to be a professional sportsman, but the accolade is not just playing for your country, playing from a World Cup point of view. And you don't forget the memories. And I say, Andrew, what's happening to me this year? With the World Cup for England, I'm going to be the ambassador for the opening ceremony, and so that honour what I've got there, it just makes me so proud. And to be honest with you, when I told my children about it, it's the first time they felt a bit emotional towards Dad for getting this honour. So I played for Great Britain in the World Cup final. I've been a captain in the World Cup final. Now to lead my country out in the opening ceremony, to be their ambassador, it's a great honour to take. So from a playing point of view, it's not there. But one thing for sure, this is an honour that I will cherish for the rest of my life, I can reassure you. But everybody's got the great memories of winning, memories of nearly winning, memories of we should have won but we didn't. But that's what rugby league's all about, and that's what sport's all about, and that's the memories what we'll never ever forget. And hopefully this year, the World Cup, what's coming up, who knows what's going to happen? If we all know we've got an Australian coach, if we're allowed to play the British way, if we're allowed to play players in the right position, let them express themselves from a point of view how we want to see that, then who knows? The forward pack will be okay. The big question is, if we do play New Zealand in New Zealand, how we're going to, perform, because New Zealand perform a lot better at home. So if we could get to the final, it could be 80 minutes, but unfortunately it doesn't give me any joy. And certainly sitting next to an Australian, it looks like the Aussies are going to win the 2017 World Cup. Hey, but listen, if Wayne Bennett's got something up his sleeve, let's hope it's surprising everybody.
Well, I'll actually say I'm actually New Zealand by birth, so if that makes any difference, but I've lived in Australia, so...
Oh, not really, because we play you in the semi-final as well, so, I'm not holding my breath at that, to be honest with you. But, hey, listen, let's hope it's a great advert, for the greatest game of all. That's what we want. The Aussies will promote it well, the market it very, very well. We all know that from there, so let's just hope it's a spectacle we're all looking forward to.
But interesting with Wayne Bennett, Gary, and I understand, I've heard through different circles that you're not so much of a fan of an Australian being appointed, but in terms of when you said play the British way, and he's had 40 years of teaching young kids to play and believe in themselves. I mean, do you think he's finally someone who can do this with his team? He's got 12 months in the job.
Hey, listen, I'm not telling Wayne Bennett how to coach, because one thing for sure, Wayne Bennett is a coaching guru. So I'm not telling Wayne Bennett how to coach. All I'm saying to Wayne Bennett is quite simple: let the players play how they want to play. Don't restrict them, because if you restrict them, the Kiwis and the Aussies will hammer us. That's what we've been doing, since '82, since the Kangaroos came on. We got pretty close under Malcolm, really. When you looked at the Great Britain side from, we would say, '88 to literally '94, we was pretty close because we played the British way. What was disappointing from Wayne Bennett's point of view was he didn't let certainly Luke Gale play how he wants to play. He didn't let from there where we could play what we see. If you want to play like the Aussies and the Kiwis, then we're just going to get beat. So hopefully, as I say, Wayne's got something different up his sleeve. He's noticed that we don't have a lot of back rowers who like to play, who are pretty good out wide, which I might beg to differ for that. If you pick some players who want to play out wide and run out wide, give them the opportunities, then who knows what might happen. But I would say the way we've got to play against the Kiwis and the Aussies is simple. Let's not look to be attacked 20, 30 metres out. Let's look to attack 50, 60 metres out and play a little bit more away from the opposition trial and ask some questions. Pick players in the right position. I'm hearing maybe that Zach Hardacre might be playing in the centres. That's not good enough. Zach Hardacre, quite simply, is the best full-back in Super League, head and shoulders above everybody else. So, first of all, we've got to play players in the right position. Let players express themselves. And I'm not telling Wayne Bennett how to coach. He's a coaching guru. His record speaks for itself. And hopefully, he's got some surprising for us.
With creativity, though, I mean, see, when you played, you were able to create. That was a lot of how you got your success, as you say, in some of those series in 1990. But do you think now with rugby league, as we explore in the book, the way the game changes throughout history and players having to adapt, coaches having to adapt, do you think, say, when you played and now, is there still creativity in the game to make it exciting?
Well, one thing for sure here, if you ask all the players what they want to do, they want to pass the ball, they want to score tries, they want to score long distance tries, but this is why Rugby League you've got 1 to 13. You've got outside backs with plenty of pace, you've got half backs who like to spread the ball, and you've got what I call the donkeys who want to do the hard work. So that's what Rugby League's all about. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Nobody's reinventing the wheel. We know the game has changed from a point of view where, the size of the guys, the physicality of the guys, but the creative guys, they want to pass the ball. And the speeders want to score tries from 40, 50 out rather than barging over. So creativity is still a massive part of Rugby League. And one thing for sure, when you saw the NRL Grand Final this weekend, how good was Cooper Cronk? How good was Billy Slater? Slater plays like a second standoff. And we all know from a point of view, Cameron Smith, the loose forward, Harris, that was literally Wally Lewis back in 1982, slinging a 30-yarder from there straight in the breadbasket. So I can reassure you, Andrew, players want to play with the ball. Yeah. They want to be allowed to express themselves. Unfortunately, the way that coaches are, it's all about completions and stats. I'm just hoping this World Cup's a little bit different.
With coaches, so in researching the book, I went back as far as, in the 50s, 60s, 70s. So, Johnny Whiteley told me about how he was in the English team, and Jack Gibson in the 70s, and then more recently, so Frank Endicott, 1995, 2000 with the Kiwis.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that, with the coaches, how have they needed to develop their style, or is it a case of, who's the best coaches that, or what, who's the best coaches that you played under and why?
Let me give you my 4 coaches, because it was quite simple for me. Arthur Bunting picked me as an 18-year-old. He never told me to stop doing what I do. which was quite simply score tries. You know, I was in the right centre, but I was never in the right centre. I watched players like Steve Norton, David Topless, Mick Crane and Lee Crooks in training. They like to pass the ball, so if they want to pass the ball, I wanted to get under it. Frank Stanton, the Australian coach, saw me for Balmain. Frank Stanton's words to me were simple: listen lad, you're here to score us tries, you've got a free roll. That was music to my ears. He said, get in the defensive line when you can, and all he did, he put Wayne Pearce to do my defending. You know, so Wayne Pearce normally made about 600 tackles a year. When I was playing there, he made about 1,200 because he did all my tackling for me. But that's smart coaching, man management. David Ward were the same, and Malcolm really. So what I'm saying is if a player likes to do what he wants to do with the ball in hand creative, don't take it away from him, because that's their asset. That's their asset, what the opposition don't like, you know. So coaches, it seems to be where they would rather just win a game by playing boring rugby league rather than lose a game. You know, if we get away from that mentality, because as I mentioned pretty earlier, if you let the players play with the ball, they will love to play with the ball and express themselves. And we're in the entertainment business, you know. Yeah. So that's what I'd like to see a lot more of. And we've seen this year, certainly with Castleford, how they brought a new dimension to the game. Would all coaches take that philosophy? I don't think so. Would all players like to play like Darryl Powell? You ask anybody from any club, and say, oh boy, would we like to play that bit? But what the players will say is, the coach won't allow us. My advice is to coaches. Chris Chester likes his players to play Open Rugby League. Ian Watson at Salford, they played very well at times. Let's see more of it, because that's what we want to see.
That's right.
You, obviously, as the joint record cap holder for Great Britain, bizarrely never played an actual World Cup tournament, because the World Cup, when you were in your pomp, was played over a number of years. Is that a regret? Obviously, you went on many tours with Great Britain. Was that a regret that you never led Great Britain into an actual World Cup tournament?
World Cup. Well, at the end of the day, Rich, it was just about that was the circumstances. So there was no point, moaning about it. To be honest with you, but I did, as a captain in the 1992 World Cup final, as I mentioned there. But also as well as Andrew mentioned with players. When you look back at World Cups, and when you look back at certainly the Great Britain side and the Australian side, what we are missing today, from a creativity point of view, is look at the loose forwards. Look at the loose forwards, what we do nowadays. You look at the likes of Johnny Whiteley and Rocky Turner and Mal Reilly. Then you look at Australia with a legendary Johnny Raper from there. You look at the outside backs where they had in Churchill and Reds Gasnier and Fulton at halfback from there. You look at the guys what we had in the Roger Mill wards and in the centres in Frankie Milers. It was quite there where, yes, the game was played in a point of view where let the ball do the work, but now we don't have proper loose forwards. We have loose forwards who play as props. It's a Paul Gallen philosophy from there, so everybody's copied that from there. So when we talk about, not just a club game, but international wise, they're on the biggest stage. Let the players go out there and entertain. Don't get me wrong. They will be very, very strong tackling, and defence will be pretty solid from there. But hey, listen, we're in the entertainment business, and let the players go out and express themselves.
As a spectator, I guess, Andrew, and as someone who's had to pore through plenty of matches to pick 10,
yes.
If you had to pick just one match to watch over and over again, what would be your, I guess, desert island Rugby League World Cup contest?
Probably the 2008 final, and that's simply because I was there, and to experience, I guess, all the emotion of the fans walking in. There were a few New Zealand fans on the train, and I remember usually they're a bit nervy, and I think they were quite jovial, almost because they thought that they didn't really have a chance, because the Australian team on paper was so strong with all those great players. And but they went in with that attitude. And the other thing I remembered was there were so many. I was sitting in pretty good seats. It was about halfway, and it was full of English supporters wearing their club team jerseys. And as soon as New Zealand started to win, and they won, this English contingent rose as one and just waved their flags and clapped. And to me, that was the biggest sort of memory, was the fact that it was like New Zealand won, but England were supportive of that. So I think because it was a shock result and it was good for the game, and it was in Brisbane, the home of rugby league in Australia. Yeah, for me that was sort of special.
I tell you what as well, Rich. When you look at the front cover on there, look at the legendary here in Clive Sullivan, and we've got Clive's book here in front of us there. And when we talk about entertainment, look at the quality wingers what we've had in Boston and Sullivan and Mick Sullivan, the legendary Mick Sullivan as well there. So we've got wingers who like to score tries. This is what I'm talking about here. This is what the game's all about. We don't want wingers just standing there and running from the ruck here and all this sort of thing and going playing like forwards. We're in the entertainment business, and I say let's entertain and show people the skills and what a great game we've got from there. And Clive Sullivan, what he lifted the trophy for us in 1972. Let's hope, keeping fingers crossed, keeping everything crossed, that Sean O'Loughlin come December the 2nd, he may be lifting the trophy.
It's a big trophy too, so hopefully,
He's big enough to lift it.
I think he is. Surely it'll be nice for him to do it. Definitely England to win.
Is he?
No, I think he's big enough to do it. Whether we're good enough to do it is another question. But I say one thing for sure. I'm going out there for 6 weeks. Looking forward to it, and I say I'm going to be the flag bearer at the opening ceremony, and let's hope I'm seeing England lift the World Cup at the end of it in December the 2nd.
I don't know if you can pull any strings over there, Andrew, but if you can somehow lose his paper so he can't come back, there'll be a lot of people who'll be very appreciative of this. He's not happy like that.
My boss won't mind. Standard for the League Express won't be happy.
No. Absolutely not.
We've got Martin
It's
Sedler,
not
the
asking if
editor,
he can go
just
yet.
over here as well.